Everyone stand, please. Yes. This honorable commission meeting is now open pursuant to adjournment. The Honorable Mayor Richard Pendleton presiding. Please be seated.
Thank you.
Remain standing, sorry.
I was going to let him sit down and say, all right. No, thank you for being here with us tonight, and want to welcome you all to the monthly meeting of the Sullivan County Board of Commissioners. Our first order of business, I'll ask Commissioner Mark Hutton to lead us in the invocation.
Let's pray. Father God, we come before you as a body of men and women eager to do the right things and the good things that benefit the people of this community, that are pleasing to you. We would ask, Lord, that you would help us to be people of integrity and character, to speak with civility, to do the work of the people in a way that honors you. We ask, Lord, that you help us to be truthfully in a way that's pleasing in your sight. We ask, Lord, blessings on this community, blessings in such a way that we could look and say, God has done this, and that you would be glorified and honored. We ask that you bless the people of this community, the people of this state, and our country as well. We thank you for all that you've done, for all that you're doing for us and in us. We ask all these things through the powerful and the awesome name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Commissioner Alicia Starnes will lead us in the pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Again, welcome to each of you. Especially want to welcome our elected and appointed officials who are joining with us tonight, all the interested citizens who are here. As we go through the agenda, I'd like to announce now before we move on that if you wish to speak to the commission, we have a sign-up sheet on the podium, and the traditional public hearing will be held shortly, and you'll be asked to limit your comments to 3 minutes. And so if anybody wants to come up, please feel free to do so during the next few minutes. I believe all of our commissioners who are present are in their seats. So, Madam Clerk, would you take the roll? When the board opens, please record your presence. Has everyone checked in? I believe everyone who is here has checked in. Madam Clerk, take the roll.
22 present, 2 absent.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is the approval of the commission minutes from the previous meeting. Those have been spread on your desk, plus electronically, and I hope you've had a chance to review them. And if is in order for motion for adoption, Commissioner Morrell, second. Adoption the minutes, that's second. Commissioner Stidham, any additions, corrections, discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The minutes are adopted as published. Next on our agenda is confirmation of elections. And first up on that is the annual or semi-annual appointment of the purchasing agent for Sullivan County. We have, I want to recognize Commissioner Harper up for nomination for purchasing agent for Sullivan County. Could you push your button, Chair? For some reason, it's not showing.
That's all.
It's on there.
Okay, good. Wasn't showing up on my screen.
It's really been my pleasure to work with our purchasing agent at Christina Davis. She's done an outstanding job, and it's my pleasure to recommend her for nomination for purchasing agent. Again.
Commissioner Harper nominates Chris Davis for purchasing agent in Sullivan County. We have a second. Commissioner Shaw, Commissioner, various commissioners. Are there any more nominations from the floor? Floor is open for nominations for purchasing agent for Sullivan County for 2-year term. Seeing none, nominations are closed. We will now vote on the nomination of Christina Davis as purchasing agent of Sullivan County. The board is open. Cast your vote. Vote in the affirmative is to appoint Christina Davis as purchasing agent of Sullivan County. Everyone voted. Commissioner Locke, have you voted? Commissioner Locke has voted. Anyone wish to change your vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
23 yes, 1 absent.
Thank you. The nomination of Ms. Davis for purchasing agent of Sullivan County is approved by Sullivan County Commission. And I won't ask Chris to come up. She usually sits in the back of the room. I won't ask her to do that. But Chris, thank you for the job you do. Thank you, Commission, for the confidence that you have in the job that she does. And if you only knew what a tough job that is, and you've got somebody well qualified and dedicated to Sullivan County in that position. Thank you, Chris. Next item is a nomination for the Planning Commission to appoint a new board member to the Planning Commission. And if I may, I'll just read the order of appointing board member. Whereas the Sullivan County Regional Planning Commission does hereby certify to the Sullivan County Board of Commissioners pursuant to TCA 13-4-101 and duly adopted by Sullivan County, Tennessee, that a vacancy will occur upon said Regional Planning Commission by virtue of the expiration of the term of office of Jerry Buchanan. Whereas the Sullivan County Regional Planning Commission further certifies that nominee Laura McMillan of Bristol, Tennessee is qualified and willing to serve on the Sullivan County Regional Planning Commission. So the floor is open for a nomination to accept the recommendation of our planning commissioner. Commissioner Morrell, second by Commissioner Shaw. The floor is open for any further nominations for the Sullivan County Regional Planning Commission. Any further? Seeing none, nominations are closed. Prepared to vote on the appointment of Laura McMillan of Bristol, Tennessee to the Sullivan County Regional Planning Commission. The board is open. Cast your votes. Has everyone voted? Anyone wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
23 yes, 1 absent.
Having received the necessary vote, Ms. McMillan is hereby appointed to the Planning Commission. Ms. Torber, is Ms. McMillan with us tonight?
She is not. I'm sorry, I didn't.
It's fine, just knowing she's willing to serve, and please notify her and pass on her congratulations for her appointment.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next up is special guest and proclamations, and we have a very special guest with us tonight. Heather Dubby. Heather, she's in the back, and she has a presentation for the Sullivan County Commission, so we will recess briefly, and I believe you have somebody with you, Heather, and if you'll introduce her, and then we'll get you up on the screen.
Can you hear me?
Oh, we got you.
Okay, good. I'm, as he said, I'm Heather Doobie. I'm the director of the Sullivan County Public Library System. And with me is Megan Hopkins, who is our assistant director. And how does it work? I've not done it before.
Okay. So hold on and we'll get started.
Fantastic. Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Cross.
We knew we wanted you on our library board for a reason. Up on the screen, you'll see what our current library mission is. We're not going to belabor that point, and we do thank you, Mayor and Commissioners, for allowing us to come and take up a few minutes of your time tonight. But the reason we're not going to go into that a lot is because most of our presentation is going to talk to you about how we support that mission. But we did want to talk to you a little bit about the vision of the library. We actually do a lot of things, which you'll soon see, but we also have a vision for a bright future. The vision of the Sullivan County Public Library System is to be the premier source of information, programming, and technology for the residents of Sullivan County and Northeast Tennessee, for each branch to be a community center, and for the system as a whole to be a trendsetter with regards to technology, programming, lifelong learning, and community partnerships.
We have multiple locations across Sullivan County, but there are some things that are constant across all of those. So of course we check out books, audiobooks, CDs, even magazines. But you may not know that we circulate hotspots for people to have wireless internet access, whether they can't get access at home or they're planning a trip. We also have public access computers, printing services, copies, and fax service as well. We are hopefully fully prepared for reference questions. Sometimes those include genealogy questions. We offer interlibrary loan services. So not only do we have a vast collection in our physical locations, but we can borrow all across the state of Tennessee and sometimes even beyond, which is incredible. All of our locations have at least one free notary, so there is a notary almost always available. We proctor exams, including the Tennessee voting exam, and we offer technology training.
Included with your library card membership to the library, we have a lot of electronic services that you can reach 24/7 from home, including some genealogy databases. We do have Ancestry.com available in the library. You can't access that one from home, but we do have 2 other genealogy databases that you can access from home. We also offer language learning databases. If you have students that are homeschooled and they still need that language requirement, the language learning through the Tennessee Electronic Library fulfills that. Just check with your cooperative to make sure that it does fulfill that requirement. READS, we librarians love our acronyms. That one stands for Regional eBook and Audiobook Download System. So if you have an e-reader, an MP3 player, iPod, iPad, whatever, you can actually download ebooks, basically check them out from the library. The benefit to this is you don't have to remember to bring them back. It just disappears off of your device. The Tennessee Electronic Library is one that is administered through the Tennessee State Library and Archives through funding from the Tennessee General Assembly and the Institute of Museum and Library Services, or IMLS. It offers over 400,000 electronic resources, including magazines, scholarly journals, podcasts, videos, ebooks, test prep, Tennessee primary source materials like the Tennessean. And going to the next point is the Tennessee Testing and Education Reference Center. This will help your students who are trying to prep for the SAT, ACT, that sort of thing, prep for those exams. We also offer streaming and downloadable music. You're allowed to stream up to 5 hours per day, or you can download 3 songs per week, and those are yours to keep forever. The online comic books are rated ages 16 and younger, so you're not going to see a lot of pure content that you might not be happy with your students looking at. But there are a lot of different comic books on there and some electronic magazines. We have about 50 titles of the electronic magazines.
So I wanted to touch a little bit on the value to our community. We've gone over kind of what we do. And Heather mentioned your library card. It's good at multiple locations. You can use that library card for digital content, including reads. That's not limited to titles that we purchase in Sullivan County. You get access to titles purchased all across the state, even digitally. We also offer a summer reading program, which starts in June. Come see us. We partner with Dolly Parton's Imagination Library and truly focus on early literacy. One of my favorite things we do is we partner with Second Harvest Food Bank, and we offer a summer feeding program at one of our locations, which is so important for our students during the summer months. We offer assistance with job hunting and resume preparation to help keep our workforce strong and growing, and we have locations across the entire county.
As I've said, we are the Sullivan County Public Library System. We have 5 locations across Sullivan County. They're listed up here, and we're going to go into each in a little bit more depth. Each location is staffed by a branch manager and an assistant branch manager. The administrative offices, which include myself, Ms. Megan, and our administrative assistant extraordinaire, Teresa Horton, along with our technical services staff, our catalogers. We live at Bluffville, but we do travel.
Some of you may know me from the Bluffville branch. She mentioned we each have a branch manager, and that's how I got started with Sullivan County. So I wanted to share it with you. We are the only branch that houses a genealogy collection. So just before I came here, I was working on a genealogy request for a gentleman out of our area. We also offer a community garden, which is about to begin. So if families don't have an area at home that they can till up, they live in an apartment, or maybe it's just too much work to maintain a whole garden by themselves, we have raised beds they can come tend to and take home the produce. We have a STEAM club, a Lego club, we have family programs like movie night, we do seasonal crafts for families. But we also now offer fitness programs. So we have Jerry Fit for our seniors, we have Tai Chi, and we started a low-impact Zumba class, so it's accessible to all abilities. We have book clubs for children and adults. I mentioned our summer feeding program, and we also host the Bluffville Knit Crochet Club. You may have seen in the paper, they make red hats for the newborns born in the month of February for heart health awareness. They donate across the state to various organizations, and we're very happy to have them.
All right, technical difficulties. Even librarians are not immune. The second one we'll talk about is the Thomas Memorial Library. It's located in Bluff City, the location there, and it is housed in a former Presbyterian church. If you've never actually been to this location, I encourage it strongly. It is absolutely gorgeous. It has a very unique layout because it was formerly a church. It is a home to a collection of unique materials that the Bluff City Music Club donated. history of the club and local history as well. They are also offering family movie nights and a Lego club, adult book club, preschool story time, and they have kind of a knit crochet club, but it's more handiwork. It doesn't matter what they're working on. It could be knitting, could be crocheting, could be embroidery, needlepoint, whatever. They just encourage you to come bring your project and work on it.
Next, we have Bloomingdale, located in Bloomingdale. They are in a partnership with the Bloomingdale Ruritan, so they're right beside each other. They work very strongly with Ketron Elementary School. They have programs with them throughout the year, including Christmas. They have a health series. They've offered programs regarding dementia, diabetes, and more recently they've started some special programs to appeal to children and teens on the autism spectrum and to make those programs more friendly for them. And they have a preschool story time as well.
Our Colonial Heights location, it's located on Pactolus Road. This was formerly a community center in Colonial Heights, and it is home to the Jan Miles Children's Room. Again, if you've not been to our locations and you want to take a tour, come talk to me. I'll be glad to take you around. But this children's room is absolutely beautiful. It's spacious, well lit. The children love it. They do preschool story time. They're starting up a Lego club. If you're in the Colonial Heights area and there's programming that they're not offering yet, just go down there and give them a holler and say, could you offer such and such, and they might be able to help you out there.
And then we have the Sullivan Gardens branch, which is located on the campus of Sullivan Gardens Middle. They also work with their elementary school, Sullivan Elementary, and with their Head Start. They prepare bags of books for teachers and take them each week based on their curriculum, which is a wonderful asset for those teachers. And they offer a lot of passive programming. So to participate in a passive program, you don't have to come at a designated time. You might come and pick up a craft kit or some instructions and take that home and do it at your own pace. They also have the highest number of hotspot checkouts due to a lack of internet access by many individuals in that side of town.
If anybody has any questions, we're glad to answer them if we can, or take them back with us and answer them at a later date if we can't just pull it out of the air. But we do appreciate you giving us a few minutes to talk with you tonight.
Well, we thank you for coming, and I'm sure this is some news to some commissioners, but we have a relatively new group. But it's not your mother or father's library anymore, is it?
No.
And
if you don't have a library card, we can hook you up. I can hook you up like tonight if you want.
we might take a break to do that.
Card is most important, one of the most important cards next to my driver's license that I carry. And I would encourage every commissioner to go to your local library and get signed up. There's so many. I'm in there 2 or 3 times a week. And, you meet a lot of people, but it's probably the best resource we have throughout the county.
Yeah. And there's a meme that I see on Facebook a fair amount that says the greatest resource of any library goes home at night, which is very true. My staff is amazing, and I couldn't do my job without them. So they're not here, so thank you.
Ms. Heather, Ms. Megan, thank you for being here. I'm afraid you've been a hidden treasure for Sullivan County, and I always enjoy my visits there, and I keep threatening to go back more often, and I promise you I will. Next up, Commissioners, we're having a little trouble with my screen, so if I'm a little derelict and slow in recognizing it, we're trying to work with it. Next up, we have public comment, and Commissioner Cross, board member of the Sullivan County Library System. And we appreciate your service on that, Andrew. You don't have to take any abuse from members. Okay, we have quite a list of 10 folks and 10 people, and as I go through these, if you're here to speak on a planning and zoning issue, we will have that public hearing later. So if I call your name, just raise your hand and say later. I'll check you off, and then we'll call on you when we recess for planning and zoning. So I'll just go down the list. Scotty Dancy, are you here? Scotty? Not for a zoning issue?
No, sir.
Very good. Please come forward and give us your name and address for our electronic record, Scotty.
Okay, my name is Scotty Dancy. I live at 532 Rambling Road in Kingsport. Hey, I came here to talk about the new high school and the funding for the new high school. I came here 2.5 years ago in opposition of this high school with about 25, 30 other people who spoke against this. I was hopeful that day of seeing the numbers speak against this is that we would get this voted down, that they would say no, that you would say no to this new high school. And I was disappointed that day when I found out that my kids were going to have to go up the interstates to this new high school. And that day I spoke with the commissioner in this room right now, and they promised us that we would have a school facility that would rival Science Hill, Dobbins Bennett, and Tennessee High. And as the months have passed, that we look at it, and I think, friends of mine, communities in the Colonial Heights community, we would be happy if we just had what we have now. That we're afraid that we're not going to have what we have now. That there's been rumors there's not going to be a swimming pool, that there's not enough funds for athletic facilities. And we're supposed to be surprised that there's not enough money. When Todd Broughton and Mark Ierson told this room right here that there weren't enough funds, the numbers didn't add up, and that they were dismissed. They were passed over like they didn't know what they were talking about. And now they look like they're the geniuses in this room. I think that people owe them an apology, because they said the numbers didn't add up, and we look at it and we're talking tonight, the numbers don't add up. The numbers haven't changed over the last 2.5 years. But here we are as a dad, as a father. My daughter is a freshman at South High School. My son is a 6th grader at Colonial Heights Middle. And I'm a frustrated parent, because I feel like our kids have been used as political pawns and their future has not been looked out for. And so now that the options is a high school that's not going to be what they need it to be, what it was promised to be, or they're going to continue going to schools that are dilapidated and are decaying as we speak. And I realize your job is really tough right now, but it's a problem that this commission that you created. You had an opportunity to make it right. And I think that our kids were used as political pawns. I don't know what you'll do to fix that problem. It is huge, but I want you to know the voters of Sullivan County are watching. And we're frustrated and we're irritated of our kids being used as political pawns. And so you have a problem with the jail, you have a problem with not enough money to finish this new school. And I don't know, like I moved to Colonial Heights 12 years ago because of the academic, just the prestige of South High School, that we wanted our kids to graduate from South High School. And we have loved the education that our kids have received in the Colonial Heights community. But now I regret that decision because of the uncertainty of their future. And so I just want to encourage this commission, stop using our kids as pawns and start looking out for their future. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the list is Joe Bragg. Planning. Okay, thank you. Jeff Starn. Mr. Starn.
Good evening. Thank you all for giving me the opportunity to get up and speak.
Could you give us your name and address for the electorate?
My name is Jeff Starnes. I live at 311 Wonderman Drive in Bloomingdale section of Kingsport.
Thank you.
And I guess the gentleman prior to me, brought up a few things there, but one thing I want to say about our current commission, and I'd like to tell him we have a lot of new commissioners because of that issue that he just brought up, and I think each of you all, the new commissioners to be here, maybe can help correct that. But one of the things I want to comment on when I was up the last few meetings, and I'm going to say this debate is good. I'm glad to see not everyone on the same page. I like to see the debate, and I think with debate, our county overall it's a plus for us. And having said that, I want to commend Commissioner Glover, because the elephant in the room, it's the gentleman just brought up the last commission meeting. I want to commend him. You know, let's slow down and look at it. I had a good friend some time back that poor planning doesn't constitute an emergency. So when you plan things, it just, it happens well. And these emergencies that we keep coming up, it's going to come back and bite me as a taxpayer, and I'm here speaking for myself. I sure would appreciate it. You think of the property owners in this county cannot continue to pay as much as they're paying and keep increasing only on property owners. They've got to be a different avenue to generate some of this revenue. Personally, I'd rather see a sales tax increase, because that gets everybody in state, out of state, on some of these issues that's coming up. Also, I encourage each of you all to work for the benefit of the county. I mean, that's what you're here for, and for each one of us individually, and I appreciate that. And I've seen that happen, especially from my three commissioners there in Bloomingdale. I'm in contact with them. I really appreciate what they do. Also, I'm going to challenge you all with something, and I'm not good with numbers. I'm going to throw this number out there. But if it's greater than $40 million that you're all going to spend in this county, why don't you put it back on us, the taxpayers, and let us vote on it, decide where we need it. And another thing, what I'm going to say, I just throwed that number out. You all can debate that and come up with a number that should be a good number for all of us. But it keeps you all in contact with us. You call us and say, hey, we need this, and this is why we need that. So, when you're there, that avenue, if you had a set amount, like I said, 40 million, I just threw that number out there. But if you all come up with that and you put it back on us, to me, it'd make your all's jobs a lot easier. Plus, it'd be a lot easier on us and our pocketbooks when it comes time to whatever decisions you all make. And I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next up, James Hagan. Hager? Yes, sir. I apologize for butchering names tonight.
That's okay, I have horrible handwriting too.
I'll take responsibility. Mr. Hager, give us name.
My name is Jim Hager. I live at 217 Main Street in dear old Piney Flats. And I have to say that I'm much predisposed to the support of Mary Hughes School for a lot of reasons. I'm here basically just with a few remarks in support of the resolution by Mr. Glover, Commissioner Glover. I read through the papers and the body of the resolution and think about some things that I picked up along the way. One of them was apparently a comment by a commissioner that this issue shouldn't be addressed to the commission, it should be addressed to the school board. But the commission approved the money. And therefore there's a responsibility on the commission's part to the taxpayers of this county. The other thing I recall, specifically at Mary Hughes for a moment, the chairman of the Board of Education ran on a promise that we picked up loud and clear that he was absolutely in favor of renovation of Mary Hughes School. Now I understand there's a little gray line here that says destruction, perhaps, possibly. You have a great job, and I respect all of you. You have a responsibility, a sacred responsibility, in my opinion, to the taxpayer. Edmund Burke once reminded us back in the 1700s, all it takes for bad things to happen is for good people to do nothing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hager. Next up is Ms. Martha Wolf.
Thank you all. Seems we are really
Could
into.
you give us your name for the?
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
My name is Martha Bluff. I live at 235 Main Street in Piney Flats. And it seems the topic of discussion tonight is schools, and I'm here to talk about Mary Hughes. I have a vested interest in that school because I attended it for 12 years. And in my opinion, got a phenomenal education. I'm also a resident of Piney Flats, and I'm a taxpayer. So when you look at that school, you have to realize that that school building is on the historic register, and it's the only school in Sullivan County that is on the historic register. So that in and of itself, in my opinion, is a reason to try and save that school. Beyond the value of the building, I think having a school in the community is invaluable. It's just, like I said, I attended that school for 12 years, and I sneaked off from school one day and went home because I could walk to school, and was stupid enough to answer the phone when it rang. And it was Mr. King, our principal, and he said, Martha, aren't you supposed to be in class? You don't have that kind of attention to children in a large conglomerate school that we are talking about. I know that our school board chairman, Michael Hughes, made the promise that he wanted to save Mary Hughes, and I understand that that may have changed, but with that, I think there was $12 million designated to the renovation of Mary Hughes School. I think that was supposed to be started no later than 2021. And I guess my question tonight is, can we get that started? Because that building is worth salvaging. Keeping a school in the community is something that is important to the children that attend that school. And if we put this off and put it off and put it off, the building's going to continue to deteriorate, and then that in and of itself is going to become a reason not to do it. So thank you for your time. I appreciate each and every one of you.
Thank you for coming. Next up is Eunice Phillips.
Later.
Rezoning. I didn't see the hand, so thank you for passing that on. Linda Johnson. Welcome, Ms. Johnson. If you'll give us your name and address.
I'm Linda Johnson. I live at 202 Allison Road in Piney Flats. And I too am here to support the Mary Hughes School. My parents saw something special in Mary Hughes and moved our family from Johnson City to Mary Hughes so that my brother and I could attend. And as Ms. Wolf said, we got a valuable education at Mary Hughes. That school means a lot to the community. We still have an alumni association that meets every spring. I'm the treasurer of that association, and it's just a delight to see the folks who graduated from there from 1950 and prior to that up to 1967 when the school was closed. So it's very important to each of us because that school is the cornerstone of the community. We are on the National Historic Register, which is in and of itself something to be proud of, and we would like to see that school remain a valuable part of the community, and we would appreciate your consideration of the renovation to get started so that the school does not become dilapidated and can continue to be something we are all very proud of. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rodney Paget.
My name is Rodney Paget. 1125 Dalton Shells Road, Bluff, Tennessee. I was here at the work session tonight. I want to thank y'all for letting me speak tonight and last week. First of all, y'all know I'm pretty for West Ridge High School. I want it to be what we thought we were going to get. I've said that before. about it. So just gonna throw that out there so that you have an opposing view here tonight. But I'm probably gonna come next month and talk about the timeline, how I think things went down here since 2015, but I don't have it all gathered up tonight. I have a pile of it, not gathered up. But I'm gonna talk about the elephant in the room tonight. Last week I mentioned a recent editorial in the Kingsport Times News, and then followed up with some of the concerns I had about how some of the actions of the county commission may have provided obstacles that have kind of gotten in the way and creating some of the county school project turmoil that we're having now. And delays being the most notable one. While observing the discussions following my comments, I noticed some responses that would confirm the article had some validity. First, when the West Ridge High School halt resolution was brought up at the work session, the sponsor took issue with a public commenter that mentioned grandstanding. Apparently that would be me. He indicated that the county commission had accomplished a great deal of good for the school by passing a resolution for 14 SROs, followed by having Sullivan East connected to the sewer at no additional cost to the Board of Education. The SROs were good policy and filled a long-standing need considering the history of school violence in our country and even an incident previously touching our own community. The resolution was initially proposed by Commissioner Stanley with backing of Sheriff Anderson, to my knowledge, was deferred in June of 2018, had its first reading in July, was deferred in August, likely because of elections, is my guess, and then voted on in September. While the school did have to amend its budget to account for the spending increase, I believe you asked the Board of Education and the director, they would be actually thankful for that SRO resolution. Second, East High School sewer connection at no cost to the Board of Education is a partial truth. It is true that it likely saved the school $400,000 to $500,000 or so, but it did not save taxpayers. In actuality, the Sullivan County Board of Education is still using $1.025 million from the reserve funds to pay for the East Middle School hookup. And Bristol is allowing that money to partially cancel what it deems is almost $4 million in project debt owed to them by the county via the city-county sewer agreement. This debt was recognized after the County Commission rejected allowing the school to use its own reserves to pay the East Middle School sewer line in December 2018 in an attempt to put its foot down in school spending, as one of the comments I heard during recess that night. In effect, it may cost the taxpayers more than another $2 million in projects that Bristol decides to collect on the debt. Another comment by a commissioner indicated that some folks are coming up here providing misinformation. It seemed this was pointed toward a comment that I had made in which I indicated the previous county commission should have voted down the bond if the location of West Ridge High School was really a factor. This was a fact. While the site was not purchased, it had been selected officially in the Board of Education called meeting just days before the county commission vote. This runs into another similar concern about sites. In April 2017, two of the item 5 sponsors went before the Board of Education April 3rd, 2017, along with David Paducah, oddly enough, who became Mr. Hughes' opponent for the Board of Education, and gave public comment basically requesting a change in location of East Middle School site to an area in Piney Flats near Partners Barbecue, pretty close to the power lines there. Having not seemed satisfied with the result, those two also commented at the County Commission on 4/17/17, trying to bypass the Board of Education in promoting this change. One of those commissioners was talking with a developer at the time that was looking to create a new $30 million subdivision development in Piney Flats. That same commissioner, or well, wasn't a commissioner at the time, but is now, was hoping to work on that project per the Kingsport Times News on a 4/18/17 article. I think it very telling that both of these sponsors have heated discussions about their dislike for Michael Hughes, based on comments that he reportedly made in which he called them stupid or dumb farmers and loggers. In fact, the sponsor loudly stated that he was going to put an amendment on the resolution for a no confidence vote in the chairman of the Board of Education.
Mr. Patrick, we're over 4 minutes, so you need to...
I've got just a little bit. Well, name calling, if it happened, is distasteful. I agree. One should not make public policy using my taxpayer money or other taxpayer money based on personal vendettas or hurt feelings. Lastly, some in this commission have insinuated the Board of Education not forthcoming with info, and they should update them with things as little as $2,000 parcel purchases for power for public pump stations. However, while a jail representative come up here in a highly respectful manner and gave a presentation on their needs, which are well known, some of those members also became combative, talking about knee-jerk reactions and verbiages such as I instead of we. I ask that you please stop the grandstanding. Some of you are doing it. I don't think you're bad people. I'm not really even that mad at you. Just come up here and vote based on facts and solutions to problems that exist. Don't worry about blaming. previous commission or the commissions from 20 years ago. We have actual issues that we need to deal with in our community, and I ask that you do that without letting personal issues get in the way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next name I have on the request is Charles Woods. Zoning, Glenwood. Zoning. Okay, very good. Well, that completes our public hearing on non-zoning, planning and zoning issues. So I appreciate Mr. Glover, you're recognized.
Mr. Mayor, I've got a signed letter here from a lady in Bluff City that couldn't be here tonight. She was sick.
And you would like to read it in the
Well,
record?
Since I'm a sponsor of the...
That's fine, that's fine. I think that's fine.
Dear Board of County Commissioners, thank you for allowing me to submit my views regarding elevated concerns surrounding the way the Sullivan County Board of Education is doing business on behalf of our county. It is my purpose as number one, resident and taxpayer, number two, concerned educator who has extended a professional career in Sullivan County schools. Thus, you can quickly see I have an investment in these outcomes. As time has traveled, I have watched changes within the school system come and go, and with some events being beneficial and others not worthy of resources delegated to them. Current behaviors of the Board of Education leadership identify qualities of poor stewardship and guidance for Sullivan County's physical and education health. Curious to me is that no plan to resolve vacant schools has been discussed among the public that dwells in each school community. This is a critical step in restoring the school community following such exits. Little care seems to be in place when the Board of Education is insensitive to stripping a school community's identity or setting fears and concerns about what happens next. May I say that as a taxpayer and a citizen, I value our resources such as tax dollars as tools designed to make Sullivan County a better place in which we live. When resources become non-participatory in steering our community forward, this conflict affects the depositors in the county coffers. How can we continue to ignore this alarming trend of disregarding the value of what we are being given to our schools? It would have been my desire to stand before you and relate my views. However, I am unable to attend your scheduled session tonight. Truly believe my views must be shared on behalf of our complex school community. Allow me to request that you take another comprehensive look at unkept promises and disrespectful behaviors promoted by the Sullivan County Board of Education. With this approach, so much is given away and unsuspected beneficiaries are the students, teachers, and school communities. This is from Betsy Carrier in Bluff City, an ex-teacher, education professional. And again, she was sick, and she thanks each one of you for listening to this letter. And thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And before I close the public hearing, I would remind all commissioners that if you choose to speak during public hearing, we'll certainly recognize Commissioner Shelton occasionally. You've done that on occasion, and it's fine. It's with emphasis, procedure, and so I just want to let the rest of the commission know if you wanted to address this at that time, you may. Hopefully, you'll get addresses during the rest of the meeting, but we wanted to let you know why we did that. Thank you, Commissioner. Love you. Thank you. Public hearing is over, and I'll keep this for the planning zone. Next item on our agenda is approval of notary publics. We have a list of folks in our community who have applied to be designated notary publics by this body. And Madam Clerk, if you're ready, would you please read the list?
Melinda B. Aker, Carolyn A. Amos, Jada Bolden, Jennifer Rigsby Bowe, Teresa A. Bright, Mark Britt, Deborah H. Burleson, Jacqueline T. Burnett, Elizabeth Clark, Marcia A. Cox, Deborah S. Cross, Robin C. Daniels, Linda Ann Davenport, Gabrielle Day, Mary Ella Dishner, Melissa Ann Goins, Karen Hart, Amanda Ray Henniger, Andrea Gail Hensley, Lisa Marie Hinkle, Sherry K. Hyatt, R. Grant Hyatt, Sarah Lorraine Kestner, Tammy Letterman, Michael Paul Lewis, Tina Denise Mann, Terry R. McKnight, Evelyn Minton, Marcia A. Knopfer, Ray G. Odom, W.D. Overby, Kenny L. Pavitt, Melissa A. Reimer, Jessica Richmond, Joy F. Roberts, Devin Salyers, Matthew Clark Salisbury, Shanna Sue Schaefer, David Bruce Shine, Hannah Elizabeth Smith, Emily Elizabeth Stevenson, Carmen S. Strickler, Alice C. Thacker, Angela M. Vaughn, Alice Elizabeth Williams, and Paula S. Yaki.
Commissioners, you've heard the list. Is there any objection to anyone nominating themselves? We have a motion to accept the list. Commissioner Gardner, second by Commissioner Cole, Commissioner Hutt, Commissioner Akers. When the board opens, this comes to you as a positive. Cast your vote. Has everyone voted? Anyone wish to change your vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
23 yes, 1 absent.
Having received the necessary majority, the list is approved as read. Next up, we have item number 1 on our resolution agenda. Commissioner Gardner, you're recognized on item number 1. You move adoption. Mr. Gardner moves adoption, seconded by Harper Road, Joe Cow. We have that on the board also, I believe. When the board opens, you've heard the motion, any discussion? Seeing none, when the board opens, cast your vote. This is a procedural matter. Adoption of a resolution to allow us to consider zoning and planning issues. Has everyone voted? Anyone wish to change your vote? Mr. Gardner? There you go. Madam Clerk, take the vote.
23 yes, 1 absent.
Having received the necessary majority, item number 1 is adopted. We shall now go into a recess and to hear planning and zoning request. And I'd like to recognize Ms. Amber Tolbert. If it was in the well, did you bring us a slideshow from your missionary work?
Oh, that would take hours.
Okay, well, we'll do that next meeting.
But I've got that for you.
We have a full agenda, so we'll do that next meeting, Amber. You're recognized on item application number 1.
Thank you. It is good to be back to work. We have 2 rezoning requests to come before you all. The middle one was deferred by the applicant. So the first is from Glenn and Gladys Woods. Their request is to rezone a lot off of Sharps Creek Road in the rural area of the county towards Bristol on the east side. And it is to be rezoned from A1 to R1 to R2. R1 is single family residential, our most restrictive zoning classification, and R2 allows for a single wide mobile home. And so their request is they would like to set a single wide mobile home on this new lot. When we went out there, if you're familiar with this area, it is very wooded. I couldn't really get pictures for you in your packet, but for everyone else, this is the site. Almost everything else out there is zoned agricultural, but as you can see in the kind of the light tan color is the R2. So we have had other rezoning requests for the same purpose in this area. So we are recommending in favor of this request. It's an expansion of an existing medium density residential on this rural road. The Planning Commission also unanimously recommended in favor of this, and there wasn't any opposition.
Heard the explanation. Mr. Morrell, you're recommended.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Amber, is there any known deed restrictions on this property that we're aware of?
No, there's not. Okay. We approved the division of property. It's already perked for a septic system. They'll be sharing a driveway even though they have, they can put in a new driveway. But if you're familiar with the area, it's very wooded.
Yes.
And there are other mobile homes in the area.
Right, of course. Amber, is there any opposition to this?
No.
Okay. Amber, I was speaking with the owners here just a little while ago.
Yeah.
They may have been under the impression maybe, or that the entire acreage tract was going to be rezoned to that. I explained to them that from what I could tell in the staff reports and stuff, this only covers the 1.02 acre lot.
That's what was requested on the application for the survey provided. The rest of it, I don't think it's appropriate to rezone that much land to R2, maybe A1, which would also allow for a mobile home. So A1 is, agricultural, more wooded. To be honest, if you're familiar with this area, in my opinion, the whole area should be A1.
Should be A1?
Yeah. It's not it's not a subdivision development, it's not near a town center, it's very rural towards the east side.
Gentlemen, do you guys understand what Ms. Thorpe is saying? Mr. Woods? Okay, so I assume, which is a dangerous thing for me to do, is that if you was interested in applying for R2 on the rest of the balance of the acreage, you would need to come back to the planning commission and start. Am I correct, Amber?
Well, A1 would serve the same purpose.
Okay.
So we allow single-wide mobile homes in A1 zoning and R2 zoning. But R2 zoning is medium density, so it also allows duplexes. In this area, like I said, it really all should be A1. Unless you were building a new subdivision and you wanted deed restrictions.
That would require a new application.
Yeah, but what is highlighted in blue matches up with the lot that they recently subdivided, and that's what is in our packet tonight.
Okay. Well, I would ask the commission to vote in favor of this. On this, I've talked to the owners, as I said. They're going to keep the property maintained, neat, and I would ask the commission to support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morrell. Commissioner George, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not opposed to this. I just have a question. In doing this lot, was there a reason that it didn't, that a strip was left between it and the other lot?
Right, so that strip is a 50-foot strip, which is the minimum the county requires for public road frontage in case they wanted to subdivide another lot. Because as you can see, that parcel is a very large parcel, and you hate to give up road frontage and landlock yourself for future house sites.
So it is 50 feet.
Yeah. Thank you. Yep.
Okay.
That was strategic. Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions for Ms. Torvald? Mr. Wood, Charles Wood and Glenwood, you want to speak on this, or would you like to be recognized now, or your conversation with Commissioner Morrell sufficient? Okay. Anybody else in the audience who would like to speak on this application for rezoning? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. This comes to you in a positive manner. A yes vote is to approve the rezoning, a no vote is to disapprove. And the board opens, cast your vote. Has everyone voted? Anyone wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
23 yes, 1 absent.
Application 1 is approved. Next up, Ms. Torres, you're recognized on application number 2.
Thank you. The next request is from the Cherokee Rod and Gun Club. If you're familiar with this site, it is in the rural area on the west side of the county, going towards Bates Mountain on Reservoir Road. The Cherokee Rod and Gun Club has operated long before the adoption of zoning, so it's considered legal but non-conforming. But the organization purchased 2 other lots. I'm sorry, I'm so used to having Tim with me. They purchased 2 other lots that are divided by Reservoir Road, so that's why you see 4 arrows. It's actually 2 parcels. And the request, I pressed it once, okay. As you can see, everything out there is zoned A1, agricultural, low density, single family. And in Sullivan County, if you want to operate an outdoor gun range, the current zoning is AR, agricultural recreational. And so they would like to expand this range. And so the new parcels that they have purchased would have to be zoned accordingly. The previous existing facility is grandfathered in. So that's the request before you. It came before our planning commission last month. There were a few folks in attendance and opposition, as well as on your desk, I made copies of the petition, front and back, of the folks. The front side is a request to change the gun club hours. That's really not an action before you tonight, but I wanted you to become aware of their concerns. I think there might be some folks in the audience who will want to speak on that. And then the second page, if you flip it, says petition to decline the rezoning application, which is what is before you tonight. The hours of operation of the existing facility, that I suppose is a discussion I need to have with the organization. We haven't had any complaints in our office, and I've been with the county 19 years, since this request has come up. That's not to say there hasn't been calls to the sheriff's department or something like that. But we have not received any complaints until the new rezoning request. So you may notice that there are similar names on both sides, and that's why, if you read the title of this petition. The Planning Commission heard those comments, and after considerable discussion, they do recommend in favor of rezoning this request for those parcels you see highlighted with the arrows, so that the Cherokee Rod and Gun Club can expand their facility. They have already begun construction, so we did put a stop work order on the construction. That's how we were made aware of this. They have also already hired an engineer. I have a draft plan. They have satisfied the state requirement for stormwater runoff and drainage. And so they've invested quite a bit of money on hiring the engineering for this site, but they're waiting on your approval. If it is rezoned, then it will go back to the Planning Commission for site plan approval. So there's several steps in place for the new facility. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw, you're recognized.
Amber, I guess if we were in the city limits, we'd call it a noise ordinance, but does the county have something comparable to that?
No, we do not.
Is there any precedent in some other actions that we've handled, and maybe Mr. Street could weigh in on, well, he's not here tonight, but we restrict in some way?
From a zoning standpoint, it's not really a zoning concern. At one time, when we were overhauling the zoning code in 2004, we had a standard paragraph in there of operational standards, and that was specifically taken out by the county commission during our work sessions because my office can't enforce that. So what you put in the books has to be enforceable by my department. And we would prefer, other than county commission meetings, not to work after 5. So typically, zoning deals with land uses. If you have hours of operation, the only hours of operation that we actually enforce are home occupations, like a beauty shop out of your home, or a home office, something of that nature approved by the Board of Zoning Appeals. We do have set time. But other than that, I don't believe it's a zoning matter.
So make sure I understand you. Any restriction of the hours of operation is really beyond the purview of this particular action.
It really is. I've looked through our zoning code. We don't limit hours of operation for any of our businesses in commercial zones, manufacturing zones.
Only home occupations, because that's in a, you know.
I guess this would be for Mr. Street, but I'm wondering if there's any precedent that in a separate action, we could consider that in this particular instance.
Well, to enact a noise ordinance in a city, that's under their municipal code, not a zoning code. And so that would be enforceable by their city police department. And you know.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Think about it. I believe kind of what we're going for is to be a civil nuisance complaint. I believe that's the only vehicle that the county residents have. Thank you. Mr. Akers, you're right now.
Thank you, Chairman. I was just curious, as you know, I'm pretty standard on my votes and try to follow the rules. So, you know, if staff recommends it, planning commission recommends it. I'm just curious to whose district this is in. You know, I don't like to make a vote against anybody's district before hearing them talk.
Good lady.
Yeah, but you know, I totally understand the noise complaint aspect to some degree, but as an avid shooter and someone who is out in a different part of the county shooting, I mean, you know, I'm kind of like Pat. The hours kind of present itself to just what you can see, and yeah. But I was curious to see who represents before I voted to hear your thoughts.
Thank you. Any other questions for Ms. Torp?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Amber, is there, now, as I see this, I meant to ask Darlene, there's, these lots actually go across Reservoir Road, right? The ones that they bought?
Yes, okay, so they're adjacent to the existing facility, and they would utilize the same entrance. And what it's proposed to be is an outdoor shooting range, a pistol range, going towards the existing direction, opposite the dwellings. Keep in mind, if you're not familiar with our ordinance, an outdoor shooting range has to be designed with a noise abatement plan, designed to the NRA handbook, depending on which range is being, you know, constructed, as well as TDEC for stormwater, erosion control, and site plan approval by the Planning Commission. So there are a lot of specifics in there. We did a lot of research when we updated the zoning code. It has to be 20 acres, and so these two new parcels will be combined with their existing parcel.
Amber, is there any deed restrictions on these two tracks that we're aware of? Or
Not that I'm aware of,
previously?
no.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Jones, you're recognized.
You mentioned something, Amber, that I'm curious. You used the word in the new design, they would have to do noise abatement because it isn't, the other one was grandfathered in.
Right.
I understand that.
Right.
Because they're wanting to add to this one, would they have to extend noise abatement to the existing one?
No, unless they wanted to do something new on the existing facility on that parcel, that wouldn't be an expansion of a non-conforming use. That would have to go to the Planning Commission as well, under state law. But because they purchased other parcels, you can't automatically expand your facility on new parcels. And so I can only enforce what is new. So again, unless they want to amend anything on the existing facility, it's grandfathered in.
We recognize Sam.
Because most of the comments in opposition were due to noise. I'm going to assume that that's because of the new one, but with the noise abatement, restrictions or guidelines of engineers that have to design that, would that be restricting just by noise abatement? It would in itself.
I mean, it's not going to be fair, there's no way you can abate the noise completely when you're shooting into an earthen mound. It'll ricochet off those ridges, you know. I mean, I hear Bristol Motor Speedway from my home, and I live 5 miles away. It's just it is what it is. We live in a mountainous region and things are gonna echo. They're gonna echo off the lake, they're gonna echo off the ridges. The noise abatement plan is per the NRA handbook. And again, it depends on what kind of range. Indoor ranges are completely different than outdoor ranges. So, you know, there's a learning curve on here, but there's a lot of engineering that will have to go into the new facility.
Mr. Vance, you're recognized.
I just want to make this comment. I think we're getting off of the purpose of this. This is a zoning request. It's nothing to do with noise. I look at their petition. I understand the people that live there that want to complain about the noise, shots being fired. But I think we go back and look, we have no way enforcing people from firing fireworks off during all times of the night either. So I think we need to stay on the purpose of this request, and that is to rezone property that they've made a request for. I think we're getting sidetracked by talking about the noise issue.
Thank you, Mr. Vance. Any further questions for Ms. Thornton? Seeing none, is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the commission on this application? Yes, sir. Come forward. Mr. Bragg, you had signed up, and I appreciate you.
My name is Joe Bright, and I live on 2264 Redmore Road.
Thank you.
And the gentleman just spoke about the noise. If he lived out there, he'd change his mind. I mean, it's loud. I was shaving right before I come in there today. All I hear boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, I think the point that Mr. Vance is making is
the
that...
map up. Can you put the map back up there? That she had. My concern
Give us a second.
My concern was on this Particle 18, 19, where they're gonna build a new pistol range. I was understood that it's gonna be probably four.
Would you scoot the mic over in front of you, please? We can't hear you.
Okay.
You can move the mic if you want to be in the middle.
Okay, that's all right. On Particle 19 here, that's where they're proposing gonna be a 4 short pistol range. Well, Particle 18 right there, I farmed it for 30 years from this park. I know every inch of it property. Well, from my, on Particle 18, if you look down the right corner above, there's a little triangle. That's my house right there. My property joins and all the way up, goes all the way to the top of the mountain. That Particle 18 is about 200 or less yards long, wide. Right here at 18, up there right where we see the 19, that's what they're doing. They're gonna do all of it. I mean, it's gonna be right on top of it. And the other ranges is all the way up here. They're probably 700, 800 yards. They're loud now. I mean, loud. Anybody don't realize if they come to my house, just come to my house and sell one. I'm not against shooting. I shoot. I've lost it up a couple of times and quit. You was talking about complaining. 40 years ago, I come up here, and they told me there wasn't any zoning laws or noise ordinance. You just might as well forget about it. And I didn't. Police maybe been called a few times. But my brother, oldest brother, he's passed on. He was a caretaker out there. That's who I was called. He was out there for 20-something years. If they somebody up there at 11, 12 o'clock shooting, he'd come in, I'd call him, he'd go over and stop it. And my nephew's out there now, but I'm just the noise. That's all I'm. It's unbearable. That's all I got to say. But if anybody don't believe me, just come out there and say it.
Thank you, Mr. Bragg. We appreciate it. Anybody have a question, Mr. Bragg, while it's up? Thank you, sir. Appreciate the standard time limits. Anyone else? I believe we have Ms. Phillips. If you give us your name and address and.
Hello, my name is Eunice Phillips. I live at 4272 Reservoir Road. I am the closest resident to the gun club.
Would you care to scoot the mic over in front of you?
Sorry about that. I'm not very
No, it's all right.
to
Thank you.
begin with. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone here. I am the closest resident to that gun club. I am woken up at 5:30 in the morning, and for 15 hours straight, we have to endure all various, get a little nervous, various types of guns. As far as noise ordinance, it would be wonderful to actually have something imposed like this. I have been inquiring about it for 2 years since I've moved here from Washington, D.C. area. I have talked to the sheriffs, I have talked to Amber, I have talked to various people for the last couple of years. as far as the hours of operation for the gun club, it is 365 days, 7 days a week, starting from sun up to sundown. That is not being addressed. Last night, I actually had called Wayne Fish because after dusk hours, there was someone up there shooting an AR-15. I am ex-military. I am a marksman. I know exactly what to say and what to do, okay? As far as berms are concerned, noise, they can ricochet, they can travel. Any type of gun can travel up to a couple of miles. It can actually ricochet, and I am up on a hill, so therefore I am concerned about being shot by various gunfire. Excuse me. I cannot express the importance, not only of the noise, but the concern of actually being able to enjoy my house, my environment, without constantly hearing and being concerned about the trespassing bullets that are occurring behind my house. If you look at the map, yes, they own directly behind me, but a little bit further is owned by Joe Bragg and his wife. I hear on a constant, not daily, but frequently, even just within this week, trespassing of bullets that are coming from the skeet range that are going through Joe Bragg's property, and I am concerned about the lead that is being imposed upon the property on his. I am not certain of any type of lead cleanup or that sort, but I am concerned because if it is considered trespassing, according to NRA, gentleman that I talked to, he says, excuse me just for a moment. I got ahead of myself just a moment here. Either way, I'm sorry, I got a little distracted here. As far as
Okay, go ahead.
As far as the pistols, we were talking about noise ordinance. A big bore or a pistol can produce over 175 decibels, which it gets louder as it goes in towards, and it can bounce off walls or other structures that can cause noises to be louder and can go as far as 2 miles away as well. As far as safety concerns, I have more people that have signed another petition that I would like to go ahead and bring forth if I may. It's every family member with the exception of 2 within a good, not exactly about a mile or so radius, that has signed these petitions as far as not wanting this to be rezoned. As far as the lead pollution, currently, like I said, we have the trespassing. According to the Best Practice Range Source Book 2012 edition, suggests a 200 to 300 yard fall zone. I don't know if that's in circumference, but if that is the case, according to that map right there, just based on the skeet range alone, it's trespassing and getting very close to my house. That is,
I'm going to give you some more time because you lost your place, but we're past 3 minutes. But go ahead, I'll give you another minute. So.
Thank you, sir. I very much appreciate that. But as I was saying, as far as the fall zone, according just to the existing point, is already surpassing and going on my neighbor's property. If I look at the map here, if that is based on a circumference, it is not 900 feet where they're planning on building. And since I am the closest, that is based on the circumference of where my center of my house is. I'm truly sorry. If you do decide to rezone this property, can my family and I be guaranteed a safe home environment from the stray bullets according to Article 10103B, along with minimizing and limiting the encroachment of non-farm? I have a farm. I had to already get rid of my horse because my horse could not handle the constant firing, 15 hours of firing a day. She was my dream. As I said, I'm ex-military. I have traveled all over this United States supporting my country. And I would like to be able to have a safe environment and not have to have my PTSD triggered because of high-rifled guns. I have documentation from the VA that states that the constant gunfire can cause my PTSD to become worse. And having that gun, I understood that I lived near a gun club. I understood that. When I questioned their hours of operation, I was told by one of the members, well, you should not have moved near a gun club. So is my safety worth rezoning this? So I'd like you to please take that into consideration, not only for myself, my family,
Thank you.
my neighbors.
We're over 5 minutes now, so let's see if any commissioners have any questions for you, if you would. Commissioner Woods.
Have you notified the sheriff's department on the complaints and noise?
Yes, I have.
Okay,
Yes, I have.
thanks.
Okay, Commissioner Starnes, you're recognized.
Is anybody here from the gun club that is speaking in favor of this?
Well, we can do that after we get through
Okay.
there. I'll ask anybody else that wants to. Darlene, do you have a question for our guest? Okay, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. Now, anybody else that would like to speak on this application, please come on up and introduce yourself. It's open. I believe I saw somebody stand up.
Mr. Venable, I answered the question, was there anyone here for Cherokee, and I am that person.
Oh, you didn't want to speak? Okay, that's fine.
If you have questions.
If the commissioners have questions, it looks like we do, if you would care to come forward. Didn't want to force you into it. Give us your
My
name.
name is Bob Campanovo. I live in Colonial Heights.
Thank you. And Commissioner Calvin, you have a question? No, you don't. Okay. Commissioner Vance.
Sir, I think you've heard the people's concerns about the noise, and I know you're not here on that behalf, you're on here for zoning. But what is your hourly operations? Do you all have designated times of operation?
Yes, sir. The hours of operation are sun up to sundown for the rifle and the pistol range, 6 days a week. Sunday, we don't start allow shooting until noon, and we stop shooting on Sunday at 5. The shotgun ranges are open because they are lighted until 10 p.m. at night. Monday through Saturday. Sunday, nobody shoots out there after 5 unless they're violating the rules.
Okay. So basically, no one's there on any time beyond 10 p.m. at night, correct? Did I understand?
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry, I have a hearing loss.
Okay, so basically, there's not anyone should be there after 10 p.m. at night, based on what?
Shooting, yes, sir.
Shooting.
We often have Boy Scout troops that spend the night because we're working on merit badges, and they camp out in the clubhouse. We have things like that going on. So there are people there often beyond 10 o'clock. Not often, but 3 or 4 times a year.
Did you take the neighbors' consideration and try to make sure you enforce the 10 p.m. cutoff to help accommodate those people?
We've been doing some research, and we don't feel anyone is shooting before 7 in the morning, but I cannot guarantee that. Rick Bragg, Joe's nephew, lives on the property, and we asked Rick if he had heard anyone shooting that early in the morning, and he says there's no one shooting that early. And he doesn't leave for work until just before 7, excuse me.
Well, if you could take consideration of your neighbors and try to make it better for them. This is not, the noise issue is not something that we're dealing with here. It's a rezoning issue. But if you could take just consideration of those neighbors and please try to enforce the rules or encourage the members to enforce. I used to belong to Cherokee Rod Gun back 20 years ago. And I understand about the noise. We hear these noise issues all the time involving people shooting guns. They shoot guns inside the cities in my area. And they shoot fireworks. And it do become noise because it does interfere with the animals and over like that. But if you could, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Commissioner Vance, you owe me one, because we strayed a little bit off the subject. You just told us not to. Commissioner Starnes.
Well, I'm off subject too, but what the heck.
Well, I can't cut that thing off.
I know you can.
Okay, go ahead.
Would you be willing to compromise on your hours for the neighbors?
We will work with everyone.
Okay.
Thank you, Lucia. Thank you for coming up. Appreciate you being here.
Are there any technical questions?
Looks like Ms. Blaylock has a question. I can't promise to be technical, but she's gonna ask it anyway.
I'd just like to say that I would like to encourage at least a day off, maybe Sunday, just to be had where the people could at least take a nap for 12 hours or something and get it over. But do try to compromise with your neighbors if you can.
I appreciate all the commissioners' comments. Darlene, you're recognized.
Okay, this is just a comment. It's not a question for him, so am I
Okay.
ready for that?
You are.
Okay. I represent this district for over 12 years. And I spoke with the former commissioner of about 20 years in this district. And we have never had a complaint about the Cherokee Rod and Gun Club. And I want to ask you to support this rezoning because it is monitored by the NRA manual and it's not grandfathered in like the other. It will be monitored and it will be like it should be. That's my comment.
Thank you. Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you for joining us tonight. I believe you're ready to vote on this application. Comes to you in a positive manner. Don't need a motion. Cast your vote when the board is open, and it is. Has everyone voted? Anyone wish to change their vote? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, take the vote.
23 yes, 1 absent.
Application number 1 is being approved by the Sullivan County Commission. That concludes our agenda for rezoning requests. Thank you, Ms. Torbett, for the presentation. Thank you for all those who participated. We will move on to the next item on our agenda, which is a consent agenda. You see it on the screen, and we have a motion to adopt the consent agenda. Commissioner Hutton, seconded by Commissioner Harper-Rose. Any discussion? And as I want to remind members, you can delete anything from the consent agenda up to the point we vote on it. Anyone object? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. When the board opens, please cast your vote on today's consent agenda resolution number 34, 35, and 41. Has everyone voted? Ms. Darley? Anyone wish to change their vote? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, take the vote.
23 yes, 1 absent.
Consent agenda is passed. Moving right along, which I appreciate your doing. We're on the old business portion of our agenda, and I would like to say before we take up the first item. Appreciate the 3 committees meeting this past month, and I think we've had extremely good committee meetings and lots of questions asked, lots of questions answered. There may remain some, and that's why we're here tonight. Appreciate the great discussion we had at our work session last Thursday evening on these. There's been a lot of scrutiny. As we go through these, various amendments have been proposed that were proposed during committee hearings or during the work session. And technically, we can't amend the bill until it's before the commission for passage. So when you call my assistant and call in and say, I'd like to file this amendment on that bill, she will prepare that amendment. And as you know, but it's not filed yet. So it has to be filed tonight. Now, we've got a couple of cases where we had to call back and said, I'd like to amend that amendment. So I'm going to try to keep us in order tonight in that the first resolution that was filed and passed on first reading is the resolution we're dealing with. We will call up the latest amendment because it's not amended yet. So you might have something that's marked Amendment 2 to Amendment 1, and that's not true. It's Amendment 1 to the original resolution. And generally, I think where we are is it rewrites the resolution. So if you have questions, just pop your hand up and we'll try to work our way through it. I'm not always right, but I'm the chairman tonight, and we'll work our way through it. So anyway, let me call up first item on our presentation of resolutions on second reading. Old business. Commissioner Hutton, you're recognized.
This resolution, I'm sorry,
I was a little bit slow on the draw. I was slow on the draw.
No, it's my fault. This resolution before you, basically, in a nutshell, will require the Industrial Development Board of Sullivan County, before any approval for a pilot agreement, it needs to come before the Board of Commissioners. At this point, there's no resolution that's ever given them the authority to approve a pilot. This just makes sure that when a pilot, when they approve it and they want it, they bring it to us for final approval and that sort of thing.
that's what this resolution's about.
You've heard explanation, properly seconded. Any discussion, any questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, the sponsor renews his motion for adoption of item number 2, properly seconded by various commissioners. Appears we're ready to vote. Cast your vote when the board opens. Has everyone voted? Anyone wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
23 yes, 1 absent.
Having received the necessary majority, item number 2 is adopted. Next up, item number 3, Commissioner Vance. You're recognized on item number 3.
Mr. Chairman, this resolution has been gone through the committees that I was there presenting. Also, Mr. Clay Walker was at the work session last Thursday. I would like to call for passage, but before then, if any commissioner has any questions for Mr. Clay Walker, he is here on behalf of this resolution.
Mr. Vance moves immediate adoption of item number 3, properly seconded by Commissioner Gardner. Any question? Commissioner Starnes, you have a question there? You're recognized.
Is Networks in favor of changing the name of this area?
I don't know. I can't speak for them.
Change the name of
The area.
No, that has nothing to do with that.
So, I know, but I'm just asking.
Oh, well, let's discuss that under other business at adjournment.
Okay.
And I'll tell you what.
It's about like noise and zoning, it don't matter.
Thank you. Mr. Shaw, you're recognized.
Mark, this is for either you or Clay. Has the city of Bristol or city of Kingsport expressed any reservations about this, any problems, concerns?
I don't think so. You can ask Ms. George, and I'm pretty sure the city of Bristol, city council was in agreement to it. But upon this passage, they'll have to take it upon their agenda.
Yeah, I understand that, that's why I asked.
No, I've not heard any negative from the city. They're supportive.
I think I can answer that.
That's good.
Mr. Walker, you're recognized. I'm pretty pleased to see you again for the 4th time.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Thank you to all the commissioners. They not only do not have any objections, they already have it in their budgets for their portion. And I think that's a key. One of the things we talked about is why the county is the body to issue the bonds. The repayment of this is divided in between the cities and the county. So you're responsible for just 51% of that.
Thank you, Pat. Wait, Mr. Brock, you're recognized.
Mr. Walker, thank you for being here. One thing that's still bothering me about this, and you may not be able to address it tonight, but I've got my reservations based on it, is I'd like some more goal setting and definitions as like what we referred to Thursday night, as far as regionalism and marketable achievements that we can get a hold of.
Okay. I'm not sure what about region. You're talking about things separate from this.
Well, it's the same thing. I mean, we're throwing money at something, but we don't know what direction we're heading. I just want more direction than what I'm getting. I don't really have a roadmap on where we're going. All I know is we're throwing money and going somewhere.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Akers, you're recognized.
Thank you. I think some of us got some emails from Chairman of Networks, and some of us got some other emails from other people. And I'll just go on and fess up. That was probably because of that. I called some people to ask some questions because I thought this was, while I am in favor of networks, I thought it was a little, it's an $8 million bond. I mean, let's just not sugarcoat it. But I am very satisfied with the emails that I got back and the conversations I had. I was going to answer Pat's question. I reached out to both of our economic partners at Bristol and Kingsport. They're both good. And in one of the emails from Carolyn Farrell, I don't know if everybody got it, because I don't know if she has everybody's email. I'll be more than glad to send it to everybody. It's a very good email about some of the future and where the money's to be spent that way. Now, for your other two questions about regionalism, I have no answers for that. I'm a Tri-Cities born and raised person. So.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions for our guest? Seeing none? Clay, thank you. Thank you for your work at Network.
Thank you very much.
Oh, Ms. Torrance has a question.
And this may sound dumb, but why is Sullivan County paying 51% and the cities are just paying the other? I'm a little confused of why.
Clay, you want to address that, or you like me?
You were here when it set up, I understand it, but.
It's based somewhat on population. Now, right now, Sullivan County's a bit lower than 51%, but in starting up networks in 2003, we thought that the county ought to take the lead because everybody in Sullivan County is a taxpayer of Sullivan County. And then, and I'm glad you asked that because it needs to be revisited. But that's the network's formula.
Okay, and I would just add to that, Mayor, that in my experience, this is a very common way for these partnerships to fund projects.
Commissioner George, you're recognized.
I just want to say, as a Sullivan County resident and a resident of Kingsport, I'm paying twice. I pay my taxes as 51% for Sullivan County, and I pay a second time. So both the city residents that live in the city are paying this a double fee on all these bonds. So it's, you know, so you have to understand in looking at it that the city, both the city people are paying twice what the people in the county are paying.
Thank you, Ms. George, but without the chairman entering the debate, let me say that's by your choice. Any other questions? Any other questions?
And by your choice too, because you live in the city.
I didn't recognize you. Okay, no, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. But any other questions, Clay? This is a very important resolution. Seeing none, I think we're ready to thank you, Clay. When the board opens, we have a motion for adoption from Commissioner Vance, second by Commissioner Gardner, for the second. When the board opens, please cast your vote. Has everyone voted? Would anyone wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
15 yes, 8 no, 1 absent.
Having received the necessary majority, item number 3 is adopted. Okay, we're moving into the items now that have been amended. Item number 4, sponsored by Commissioner Jones, seconded by Commissioner Crawford. I think you have in your packet all the amendments, but as I mentioned earlier, before us today is the first resolution that was issued, but the sponsor has requested the adoption of amendment number 2, which is in your packet and looks like this, and the amendment number, it's labeled number 2, but it will actually be amendment number 1 to the original resolution. And I will, at this time, recognize Mr. Jones for an explanation of the amendment, and he can accept the amendment to his resolution. So, Sam, you're recognized.
We brought this amendment out to try to answer the questions that came up in discussion. And let me say to all of my fellow commissioners, the past 3 weeks have been a real learning experience on this issue, not specifically this one, but about 420s and pilots and TIFs. And we got some information last night at the Budget Committee about some of those issues. But I appreciate all the questions that were asked because they were all good questions. And, for some of us, it might be considered the old term of plowing new ground, even though that ground's been turned over before a lot of us got back on here or came on for the first time. Look through it, out of section number 4, on the back, was a section that was, asked for, and we did take out, or out of the amendment, took out the, dealership. It was no longer considered in. I want to give opportunity to those that, have been here and speaking in opposition, and so I'm going to ask, City of Bristol, if you have comments that you'd like to present, now would be the time to do it.
Commissioner Jones, I'll be happy to recognize them. We will recess, and I appreciate, there's been a lot of discussion, and I appreciate your efforts to make sure that everyone gets heard. So I will just briefly recess if anybody, City of Bristol wants to address this. It's not necessary, not necessary.
Not at this time.
Okay.
Reserve that privilege.
That's fine. Commissioner Jones wanted to recognize you if you want to be recognized tonight on this amendment. But I will tell you, what we can't have, we've had great discussion, but what we can't have is arguments, answering arguments. And I think what Commissioner Jones wanted to do is say, make a case if you like to, and then somebody else will make their case. But we won't argue. There won't be a recognition back and forth. So, choose not to. Thank you. Thank you for being here, by the way. I don't know if I told you I appreciate it.
Would we have an opportunity to speak?
I'm sorry, Leah.
Would we have an opportunity to speak after the fact?
After the fact of what? I'm not sure I understand the question. Are you saying that after someone else speaks?
Yes.
Are you going to have a chance to rebut?
Yes.
As I said, I'm not going to do an argument. I'm going to let people state their case. Is that fair?
That's fine.
Okay. Sir, if you want me to recognize you on part of the city of Bristol?
Yes, sir.
Give us your name and address.
My name is Scott Gibson. I work with Colonial Securities out of Knoxville. I'm the city's financial advisor. And I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of the city of Bristol. I was at several of the workshops. I did hand out previously a calculation of the incentives that the city of Bristol is already providing this development. And I can hand it out if you haven't seen it tonight. It basically breaks down the amount of funds that the city of Bristol is willing to share with the developer, 3.7125%. Every state sales tax dollars that they generate will flow back to them. And what that amounts to is for every $10 million in sales, they get $371,000 in change every year for the next 20 years to help pay for this project. And that is why it's not a question of, are we providing incentives or are we not providing incentives? We are providing some incentives which we think are more than fair. The incentives that you're here tonight, we think are out of line and don't meet the guidelines that the city of Bristol has set forth, and that's why we're here tonight. So we think we're doing a fair job of incentivizing that project and any other project that wants to move into the Chapter 420 area. We just ask that you take that in consideration when you vote tonight. And if you have any additional questions, I'm available to answer them if you got any just when you get into discussion.
I believe we're to that point, and we have a couple of commissioners, if you'll just take us, Commissioner Hutton.
Thank you, Chairman. I honestly, I just kind of want to call the question. I don't know if that's a proper form to do, but.
Well, it is a proper motion. I would, and we can vote on it. And that cuts off debate. We have a second.
Right.
We have a second, Mr. Broughton, Mr. Vance. All those in favor, you understand the motion is to cut off debate, go directly to vote. Everybody understand? We're going to take just a minute and put this on the board. Mr. Street, we've got a motion on the floor, a proper motion on the floor, and I can't recognize you. I'm sorry. I can recognize the sponsor, which I think is reasonable to do. If we close off debate, I'm going to recognize the sponsor. So can you put this on the board for us, Angie? A motion to call the question. But let's do it this way, All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no.
No.
The ayes have it. So we're on the question. Mr. Jones, as courtesy to you, I'd like to recognize you.
Well, thank you. I know we've had a lot of phone calls and on this. And I understand that the city of Bristol did do a sales tax on the state sales tax agreement, which is not where we're at. That has nothing to do with this resolution. This resolution is on an agreement with the Tennessee Department, TDOT, to relocate the road. So the city of Bristol will be getting a new road put into the development with the infrastructure would be included in that in the $1.62,776,000. The payback is in the resolution as per the agreement with TDOT. That would be a 10-year payback with 3 years of construction allowed by them. There was a safety issue involved in TDOT's, from the letters I read, wanting to see that take place, and because of its closeness to the exit for the northbound Interstate 81. We did put in the resolution that if it was paid, it says whenever it's paid off, it stops, which means if it was paid off in 7 years, 8 years, whatever time, then that would stop it. I would ask your support and vote for it, and I thank you for all the hours that we heard in discussions in this.
Mr. Jones renews his motion on item number 4, seconded by Commissioner Crawford. I'll have a statement after we vote. Madam, when the board opens, cast your vote on item number 4. The board's open, cast your vote. Has everyone voted? Anyone wish to change the vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
4 yes, 19 no, 1 absent.
Having failed to receive the majority, item 4 is rejected. I would like to take a form of personal privilege, and in attempting, as the chair of the Sullivan County Commission, I attempt to follow Robert's Rules of Order the best I can, generally referring to the county attorney if I have a question in my mind, and then I'm not hesitant at all to rule. And I think that we had a proper motion on the floor. The commission acted properly. I'm disappointed that we're not willing to listen to arguments and listen to sides. That's a personal privilege of mine, and so that's all I'll say about that. We're back in session. Item number 5. Commissioner Glover, you're recognized on item number 5.
Thank you, Mayor. I explained this last Thursday night at our workshop, and I'm not going to go through the whole resolution because it's 2 pages worth, but I think it explains itself. But I will read one excerpt from this. Be it further resolved that the Sullivan County Board of Commissioners has a growing sense that the property tax increases relative to Sullivan County Department of Education construction projects are avoidable and are in effect on this department therein related must respect the payers of taxes as these projects move forward. It is our intent to avoid tax increases and stabilize future prospects of construction and renovation completion given fiscal resources and allocated appropriately, yet not expanded with regard to payers of taxes. When we put this resolution in, we wanted some answers from the Board of Education. And I don't think if I had put this in, we would've got those answers. We've been here for about 6 months, and a lot of us has asked for information. It's took us a while to get that information. And I think the numbers that we received, that I've handed to each of you, reveals what we needed to hear and what we needed to see. In regards to that, both projects are about $7 million or a little more over budget. And that's a deep concern to all of us. About 95–96% of the response that I've got on this resolution has been positive. And I think we see here tonight that the folks at public comment have a great respect for our system, but they also want to get what they were promised and what they were told that was going to happen. And in this school bond issue, I'm going to read to you again the second whereas in this bond. It says, the citizens of the county have had the opportunity to participate in the public planning process and understand the need to seek consolidation of certain school facilities. The acquisition of property for and the design, construction, and renovation. That's key word there, and renovation of additional school facilities for the Sullivan County school system. And when I look at this facilities plan and I come up with the numbers and I look at each line on what we've received, there's nowhere in here that I can see that we're going to have that money for renovations. And that's what the question is. I would appreciate if you also would look at the general purpose money. And I think the other night when Mr. Avalosky was here, some of the key components in this was lunchroom equipment, kitchen equipment for the high school. We were told that some of that equipment was going to be brought in from another high school that was closing. Well, one of those high schools is going to be a new middle school that's supposed to be renovated for our children. And that's a big question. And what I want you to focus on in this resolution is that $7 million was took away from children in other school facilities. It was took away from teachers. And I think in this new budget year, with the amount of money that they've got left here and they're over budget, I think it's going to happen again and it's going to go deeper. And that's a great concern. It should be a great concern for all of us. I would appreciate your support on this. Our kids and our parents and our teachers are what we need to think about on this. So if there's any questions, I would like to answer them. And again, if someone is here from the school department or Board of Education that wants to come up and answer some questions, we would love to hear from them.
Mr. Glover renews his motion for the adoption of item number 5, seconded by various commissioners. Anyone have a question for Mr. Glover? Mr. Shaw, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I regret I didn't speak when you gave the opportunity during the public comment section. I would like, and what I'm going to say relates to what we're doing here.
Mr. Shaw, I'll recognize you after we complete our business. If you'd like to address the commission, I'll be happy to do that. Every commissioner ought to have that opportunity.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
I wish I jumped on it then. But I want to say something on behalf of some of our commissioners. Some are present and some were on the previous commission. I voted against the school facilities plan, but we're a nation and a county that goes by laws. At the time, I may have disagreed with the decision of several of my fellow commissioners, some who are here tonight, but at no time did I question their motives, nor did I claim that they were using our school children as pawns. I think, and I don't question Mr. Glover's motives either. I think he's done a service. He's gotten the information that he requested. And I think that this ongoing situation with the school budget and particularly with these construction projects is something that should be carried on with the budget committee. In a few weeks, the school board will come before the budget committee to get their budget reviewed, and then the budget committee will make recommendations and so forth, and eventually it'll work its way to all of us for passage in the total county budget. That's the place to put this issue. I would have preferred that either the school board president or a member of the school board had briefed us last Thursday, but they didn't, and Ms. Rafalowski, who's a dedicated public servant, came forward with critical information, and I appreciate that, and I think now this situation should be resolved through our normal process. That's the way I look at it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. We have others want to have a question for the sponsor. Commissioner King.
Thank you, Mayor. When I first saw this resolution that was put forward, it brought back thoughts for the election, the candidates who ran for this commission, and you know, there was a lot of people that had on their flyers that they was going uphold taxes and no new taxes and all this stuff that they were promising people. And you know, to function as a government, we have to have taxes to do that. But on the other hand, the people that voted for us in my district and Sullivan County as a whole, who each of us represent, we work for the taxpayers. That's who we work for. And if we're not taking care of the taxes that they send over here and making sure that they are used to the best option that we have, then I think we're failing our taxpayers, the people who elected us to come over here to serve them and to look out for their best interest. Since September, and we took on our offices, we've voted some pretty hefty taxes for projects, SROs, cars for the sheriff, equipment for the highway department. We just voted for a bonds for a project, one of our industrial parks. Where's this money coming from? We haven't had an increase in our taxes. And I sat on this budget committee, and I don't know where this is going to come from. We're adding on stuff, but we don't have any place to get it. We don't have any new taxes. Our taxes, you know, they're pretty stable, but we don't have a lot of money coming in to do this. So the reason that this resolution was brought forth is not to stop the school. The school's going to go on. It's going to be built. But I don't want to see that the school, because there's not enough money to finish it, or there's enough money there, that we start cutting corners on our schools. I want the best school that we can afford to be built for our kids and our teachers to teach from. And that's the reason that I was supported this, is because I wanted answers. I wanted to see how our money was being spent, and we wasn't getting that. There was nothing coming back that, you know, and there again, you know, we were the previous commission was the one that voted for these bonds, and now it's our responsibility. We've got to find the money to pay these bonds back, and we got to find ways to make sure that these schools are completed to the best of our ability. And that's the reason I wanted to know questions, you know, where did we stand? And, you know, and I think that's just good business sense. You know, if you're going along with a project, you need to know steps, you know, from time to time where you're at on this. And I just think it's good sense that we do this. And there again, we're not, you know, attacking the school board or anybody. I mean, I haven't, as far as, you know, and I don't want to. I mean, I don't want to get into that. I don't want to step to that point. But all I want to do is make sure that we're getting the best that we can provide for our kids and our teachers, not only for this generation, but for the next generation coming. So I hope we can vote for this. I hope we can pass it. I hope we can start a new relationship with our school board and have some information coming back both ways. I think that's the way our government was set up, with our school board and our commissioners here. So I'm asking you all to vote in affirmative for this, and we need to start over and move forward. But if we hadn't brought this forward, I don't think we would have been at this point. But I want to reach my hand out to the Board of Education, but I want answers, and I want, I need answers, because I'm representing the taxpayer in my district and the taxpayers in Sullivan County. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. King. Commissioner Starnes. It seems like I cut you off, Lisa. You're recognized.
I have wrestled with this all week. Didn't sleep 2 nights and got up and went and taught school all day long, so I am worn out this week. But I can tell you this. I've been told by many, many people in our district, we don't care what you do with that. 1, my kids are not going there. And 2, we didn't want it to begin with. So I think a lot goes back to what Mr. Dancy said. No, it's not gonna be stopped. We can't stop it. But I think it's time to slow down a little bit and look at things. Because I don't want my kids today paying for something that may not be what we were promised tomorrow.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to correct Mr. Glover on one thing. He stated we're 7 million short. That's not exactly true. It's considerably more than that. The 7 million is based on the new version of the high school. The version of the high school that was sold to this commission was a 6A high school with a pool. The pool was sliced before anything was even set foot on the property. So when you add that to it, your number is closer to 10, 11, 12 million. Just, a lot of you folks wasn't here then, but I lived it day and night. I was crunching numbers and trying to make things happen. The most concerning part about this, besides being not what the public was promised, besides the current high schools in the county having more than what the new high school will have to offer. The most concerning part about this, and my wife has brought this up to me over and over, you're leaving South and Central with millions of dollars of renovations not being touched. That was promised in this. The ladies that spoke tonight about Mary Hughes, my heart bleeds for them. I understand where they're at. We didn't even have money to put a pool in this high school. We're not going to have money to do that. There's so many things in this county that we would like to do, and we want to help all we can. We only have so many coins in our pocket, and they're spread thin already. And I'm not trying to detract from Mr. Glover's proposal, just, it's even worse than 7 million short. That 7 million didn't count the high school with the pool, and it didn't count the football stadium, which I'm not an expert on it, but a gentleman that I feel like is an expert on sports says that the high school stadium is not big enough for the school. I won't call him by name, you all know him, he's a local ESPN guy. He's had a big concern even over the football stadium not being big enough and the press box not being big enough. And I hear over and over and over from people, well, we want it done right, we want it done right. Then they don't want us to vote for this. Think about that for a second. We're trying to get things done right. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Vance.
Well, I guess I'll be in for the long haul. I think the resolution, and them coming up here, and Mr. Wilson coming, and Ms. Evan Riflehouse come, Charles Over come, I felt like that they answered us as truthful as the information that they had in front of them. The problem I have with this resolution is whereas reviewing this governing body, the Board of Education temporarily pauses construction of Westridge High School, and this allows for quality and complete construction of Sullivan East Middle School. As he explained here, the steel is here. I think that it's already gone beyond the point of where that you could actually stop Westridge High School or temporarily pause Westridge High School. The amendment of the resolution that he added on as amendment number 2, be further resolved about the passage of the resolution shall constitution a motion to vote of no confidence in the Sullivan County Board of Education Chairman Michael Hughes.
We haven't adopted the amendment yet.
I see that has some degree of merit. But the question is, if we approve that, is that going to improve the relationships to get through this, to complete these 2 schools? So I agree with it in context, but I disagree with it in principle. The principle is that if we don't come together and the school system recognizes our concerns and respect us as a governing body, as you heard tonight, people make the comment, yes, you let them borrow, you borrowed the money, you gave them money, you have some responsibility and accountability. And I think that's what this intent of this resolution initially was, is making them more accountable. So that's why it has merit. But sending a message back, whether you like the chairman of any committee or any organization, by trying to personally attack the individual is going to do nothing but create more controversy. And like I said, I agree with the context, but I don't agree with the principle of it. I don't know if it's going to make things more positively going forward to deal with everybody's concern, both the public's and this commissioner's concern. So I will probably abstain on this resolution for the first resolution I can remember I ever abstained, because it's got too many different wheels in it. I like and I dislike.
Thank you, Mr. Vance. If I could ask the sponsor, Mr. Vance referred to what I think was an amendment that you filed with our office, and we haven't adopted it yet. So if you want to do that, we can do that now. If you want to do it later. The original resolution was amended, and you can see the strike-throughs in the resolution on your desk, but the commissioner had filed with our office a potential amendment number 2. Do you want to put that on, Ursula, or just leave it off till we get the discussion?
Why don't we leave that amendment off till we do the discussion?
We'll do the discussion, and you, I'll let you tell me if you want to put it on.
Could we put that amendment on a separate vote from this resolution? Or do I have to come up with another resolution?
No, you could say, it would be unusual, but you could say, I reject the amendment, and everybody would have to vote on it, if you had a sponsor for it. I can't, we can't call it up as part of this resolution. You can make that as a motion from the floor at the end of the resolution agenda. And that, therefore, would be a motion of the county commissioner and not attached to this resolution. It's up to you. You want to think about it, and I'll recognize the other members that have questions.
Thank you.
And I just want to make sure we were where you thought we were. Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mayor. I have searched and searched for a way to support this resolution. And Commissioner Glover, you and I have spoken before the meeting. We've always spoken well. One thing I've enjoyed about the discussion tonight is we've proven that we can disagree and not disrespect. I've enjoyed that a great deal. Concern I'm having is the longer we put it off, you can speak to this, Commissioner Glover, the longer we put it off, does the price tag continue to go up? But I appreciate the work you've done on this, and I'll yield to you, Mr. Mayor, if that's okay.
Thank you. Commissioner Stanley, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. One of my main concerns with this resolution is there's nowhere in here that has addressed any transportation plans. And I don't think that there could be any price put on our kids' lives, even if the price did increase, if we ask them not to open until the safety study has been done at this high school with the roads that surrounds it. So I'm going to ask Mr. Glover if he will accept this amendment to go with the resolution. It says, whereas West Ridge High School hasn't had any transportation plans provided. Therefore, citizens are asking for TDOT to do a safety study on the roadways, intersections, and interstate exits to be done and completed before West Ridge High School opens.
Yes.
You
I'll accept that.
Have you got that in writing,
Yes, sir.
Commissioner? Would you file it with the clerk? You've heard the amendment and you've heard the sponsor accept it, so we have it properly positioned. Commissioner King, you're recognized.
I don't want to make this longer than what it already is, but go back to what Commissioner Broughton said. You know, how much are we over? You know, is it 7 million? Is it 9 million? The next question is, where are we going to get that money to do that with? Where's the money going to come from if it's 9 million or if it's 15 million? The only solution I see to raising that kind of money is raise taxes for the taxpayers of Sullivan County. It's that simple. If we don't have the money in fund balance or some special account that we've got back here in the back room or whatever, like everybody supposedly says, you know, we can just take it out of this fund or that fund. No, we can't. We don't have that kind of money. So my question is, where is the money going to come from to make up for the shortfalls that we've got? And I don't know. I mean, I wish somebody would explain to me. I wish the school board or somebody from them who is planned all this stuff would come to us and sit down and say, this is where this is coming from and this money here is going to here, to where we've got an idea of where we're going to come from, instead of waiting to the end of this project and come back to us and say, we don't have enough money to finish the school, so, you know, we're asking for more money. And that's the biggest reason that this resolution is here. Also, again, where's the money going to come from for South, Central, and East? And I represent East, and I think East is getting the short end of the stick on this whole deal. We're supposed to have somewhere in the neighborhood of $10 million to renovate East. Where's that money at? I haven't seen a count that money's in that we're supposed to do that. So, you know, I've asked a question. This is supposed to be a CTE school. Is it the kids at East? How are they going to get back and forth to this school? And are they going to be able to have the same opportunities at this high school as the other children that's coming from north and south and central? So these are some of the things that I've asked, and I still haven't got answers. I've had, you know, yes, they're going to, but, you know, I've never seen anything that says how they're going to do it, when they're going to do it. You know, is it going to be half a day at one school, half a day at the other school? You know, I've never seen the exact, you know, formula for this to happen. So there again, it boils down strictly to money. And so I see answers. I don't see how we can move forward. We're going to have to find some answers to all these questions. And there again, if somebody can come up with the funds that we've got somewhere, I want to see them. I want to see the count that they're in. And I haven't seen that to this point. Thanks.
Commissioner Hutton, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Like all of you, I think I've wrestled through this resolution, because I recognize that there is a significant problem between the Board of Commissioners as well as the school board. And I'm telling you, as a new commissioner, that's been one of the most surprising things about coming into county government. Those are two entities that should be working hand in hand, especially when it comes to economic development. When people come into a community, that's one of the first things they look at. They look at the schools. And what do they read when they're looking at Sullivan County? They read about all the stuff that's going on and the animosity and everything that's stirred up. And this is a tough resolution because clearly we have the right response and responsibility to this community to be concerned about the bottom line. We're all concerned about taxes and what it's going to cost us, and this is a huge thing that we've inherited, and we want answers. The issue, though, is this resolution is basically asking for something that we can't enforce. We can't make them stop. They can't put it on hold. I think that what we need to ask in this resolution is more about making sure that we're getting what we got during the work session, that we're getting timely and accurate receipts, that we can see those things and we can make sure that everything is being done. I know enough about construction contracts to know that if you delay it, it's going to cost you more money. It's on us because we're the ones that we're going to delay it. If they do that, it'll cost more money. It's just the way contracts work. And but I think the bottom line, the real bottom line, the real problem, and we need to work the problem is we're concerned about there being this thing costing more than it's supposed to, and not being able to have the kind of school that you want to have. And someone who's benefited greatly from education, both as a student and also as an educator, I mean, having top-notch facilities is incredible. I mean, it does a whole lot for the pride, it does a lot for the community, it does a lot even for economic development. And so I think maybe that might be the thing that we need to tweak in the resolution to be a little more palatable, is that basically what we're asking for is a constant information coming from the school board about the expenditure so we can make sure that the bottom line is being met and that these things are being taken care of. The other part that makes it difficult is I know that there's a great deal of animosity between the chair of the school board and hard feelings between, just personal, not me, but with others. And I understand back history and all. But, you know, we do a no conflict vote. I know we talk about starting a new relationship with the school board. We're actually starting at a negative. I want to vote for this. I want to agree with it because I want to support. I want to support Mr. Glover and Mr. King in this, and I agree that we have an issue here. It's a hard thing for me to sign on to with those two things together, and at the bottom line, all it does is it communicates that we're not happy about something and it doesn't have any teeth. I'd rather have a resolution that has some teeth to it. Kind of demanding that we get some receipts and things like that. That's my thinking at the moment.
Thank you, Mr. Hutt. Commissioner Stedman, you're right.
Commissioner Glover, hey, I appreciate your hard work on this. We've had many discussions on this. I have to agree with Commissioner Hutton. It doesn't have a lot of teeth for us to enforce. But one thing I was sitting here thinking of and has been going through my mind the last few days on this resolution is the fact that before this county commission had an education committee. Last chairman was Commissioner Stanley. I think that resurrecting that education committee and putting that in charge for the commission to deal with the Board of Education, ask these hard questions, would be a good ideal rather than supporting this. Do you think that would possibly be an answer to where we can find out? Everyone is concerned about the shortfalls.
Is anyone here from the school board tonight?
Nope.
What's that tell you?
Well,
What's that tell you? Does that tell you anything?
do that.
But having
We're
education,
not gonna do that. Commissioner Stidham, you're still recognized.
but having an education committee that could deal one-on-one with them instead of 24 commissioners that could sit down with them and talk to them. I think that would be a better olive branch and a move forward than supporting this resolution. And I have your same passion. We need to find out the answers. But I think that might be a solution to, instead of resolutions like this, and I really have a problem with amendment number 2. I think that's kind of out of the scope of what we need to be doing as a commission. That definitely is not an olive branch, going after someone on that. But I do appreciate your passion, and think about that and consider that. We could do up a resolution to bring back the education committee. And my first thing I would ask, you have the passion for this, that you would chair that committee.
Mr. Stedman, I'd like to read something to you here. And I would like for you to answer me this straightforward, to see if this happened in your neighborhood. The initial early phase of the facility plans, building a new East Zone Middle School, which is happening, to serve 700 students in the eastern part of the county, starting in the fall of 2018. Mary Hughes will serve all elementary students, and 3 existing middle schools will be consolidated into the new middle school. Sullivan East High School will undergo extensive renovations and offer expanded CTE programs that are not available in proposed programs in other high schools. The final phase of the plan will replace Mary Hughes facility with a new elementary school. That's what this school bond was sold on. That's what it was sold on, was promises. And I'm not going to sit here. If this is voted down, that's fine. But I'm not going to sit here and turn the back on the people that elected me in District 5 that depends on me to represent them in this chamber. In this bond, Sullivan East in 2018 was promised $8 million. They ain't received a dime yet. They got a backstop in the field house. And she stood in here the other night and tried to tell me respectfully to her now that roof that they put on, that wasn't part of the school bond. You can't count that. And also in Mary Hughes and Piney Flats was promised $12 million. Like Commissioner King said, where is this money at? We promised these people that we would renovate their school. We promised people in Sullivan South Zone, Sullivan Central Zone, that we would renovate their schools. That's what this was passed on. And I would hate to be the person that's holding these bonds. This is a legal binding document. So if we don't want to abide by it, that's fine. That's no problem. I would appreciate your vote. I think the people in our district would appreciate your vote. And I think the taxpayers of Sullivan County would appreciate your vote. That's what we're here for. No excuses. I don't have no excuses for writing this resolution. I'd do it all over again. If voting for this resolution, dropping this amendment on our school board chairman would count, this was not made up. This is right out of the Tennessee School Board Association handbook. That's what it states in there. It's not something that I made up. If you read it and you go home and pull that handbook out, you're an educator, you can read it right out of that. So I'm not sorry at all that I put it in there, but if it would account for us voting for this resolution, I'll strike it right now. But I do appreciate what you're saying, and before when I wasn't serving on this commission, I went to one education committee meeting. You were the chair of it. Did Ms. Kravlowski even show up? No. So let's vote on this.
We have a couple of commissioners that like to be recognized. I assume you're not calling a question.
If I want to, no.
Commissioner Torrance, you want to be recognized.
Everybody keeps saying if we halt it, it's going to cost more. Well, that may be true. But think about it. If they don't have the money for this, and they wanna do, what is it, phase 2, phase 3, how are they gonna get the money for that? They're gonna wanna raise taxes. I'm not voting to raise anybody's taxes, unless there's a tree back here that we're growing money on that I don't know about. And is it personal? I guess in some ways it is. I mean, yeah, let them come into your neighborhood and close your schools. See how personal it feels then. And like I said, I wrestled with this for a week, even talked to an attorney to make sure that I could vote on this and face any ramifications that might come about. But I'm supporting this because I promised the people in District 8 that I would do what they wanted me to do, and they want me to support this, so that's what I'm going to do.
Thank you, Ms. Starnes. Commissioner Cross, you're recognized.
My question is just procedural. The amendment, you had mentioned earlier, we had not accepted that amendment yet, and now I just wanted to know if we are accepting that, if we are voting on that, as you had mentioned.
No, good question, and it's Commissioner Glover's choice. We're not going to vote on that. You don't want to file amendment number 2?
No.
Okay.
So amendment number 2 is not part of this resolution?
Amendment number 1 is the struck out section of the original resolution,
yes.
and he has not filed amendment number 2. And I did tell him that if he wanted to make a motion later, we can do that.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for straightening that up. I appreciate it.
Yes.
Ms. Stanley's amendment is amendment 3. I accepted her amendment on it.
It's actually amendment 2. It's actually the same.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's like minds. Thank you, Chairman, for recognizing me. But I pretty much had the same question as Andrew. I was kind of making sure we were focusing on the right thing, that amendment had not been introduced yet. And but I'll just say this. I mean, I haven't really wrestled with this like everybody else. Most of this commission turned over probably because of the school's facilities plan. I was very naive on the county school facilities plan. You know, Bristol has a great working relationship with their Board of Education. They meet regularly together. I do not know anything about Kingsport's situation. So I've also been very frustrated with the relationship we have, and I think at some point we're going to have to be the bigger people and figure out how to make that work. Because obviously I think we see their side of it. I mean, there's not a soul here from the school board, I apologize, school board tonight. But then again, we've got tough votes for in this commission, and we're going to have tough votes. We as American citizens have the right to vote to affect change of our government. That's the greatest right, one of the greatest rights I think we have. We asked for it. We asked for their vote for it. And we're here and we're going to have to make some tough votes, one way or the other, on a lot of issues. And so, as it's been said before, dialogue. I love the way this commission questions things. If it takes 6 hours, it takes 6 hours. We'll be here, But we were elected to do this. And so, I mean, I'll support it. It means nothing. But we're 8 months into this, and it took 7.5 months to get some answers. And I'll be honest with you, last week's work session, I was sat here pretty frustrated. The representative of the school system could not answer any of the renovation questions, not one. And it was asked 3 times from 3 different commissioners. And the representative of the school board or school system also said, well, we can meet privately one-on-one. No, we're going to be open, we're going to be transparent, and we're going to be doing things differently. And if you don't like it, then I apologize. But that's the way I plan to be for the next 3.5 years. If you're going to want us to vote on your budget, you probably ought to say, hey, how can we work together? And I apologize for my soapbox.
No. Appreciate the comment. Commissioner Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to call a question. Let's go ahead and vote.
Could I comment on one thing, Mr. Mayor, before?
Yeah, oh, yes. I'd say the sponsor is recognized, and I want to put that to a vote. I think our board's empty. We'll call it. You're recognized.
I'm not gonna apologize for being passionate about my district. Like I said, those folks, we've lost both of our middle schools, we've lost possibly both of our elementary schools, and I'm not gonna apologize for being passionate about what I believe in. Those folks elected us to come here and represent them, and that's what I'm gonna do. And like I said, I appreciate your vote on this, and Mr. Mayor, I would like to direct a question to you. How many times in the last 6 months have you invited the Board of Education here to speak with us and no show?
Well, I've done it in various meetings, and I can't count.
I rest my case.
I couldn't promise you one, but I would reissue that invitation anytime.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I think the sponsor would appreciate a vote on his resolution. He moves adoption of item number 5 and properly seconded, without cutting off debate. Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you open the board on item number 5 as amended? Is that right? Am I right now? We had it as amended, and the First Amendment was shown in the strike over in the original resolution. Clerk has second amendment number 1. That was amendment number 1. Amendment number 2. Well, no, we're not going to vote on it. He accepted. So we're ready to vote when you open up the board. I'm sorry?
Does not include amendment 2.
No, he never accepted that. It wasn't identified. Board's open, cast your votes. Has everyone voted? Anyone wish to change your vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
16 yes, 1 abstain, 6 no, 1 absent.
Have received necessary majority. Item number 5 is adopted as amended. Oh, yeah. That completes. You know, we have a public comment section, and we have a really respectful group of folks up here, and they have a good debate. And I invite the public to speak to us anytime. I'll leave it at that. We're going to take a 15-minute recess. We're at 8:31. Please come back here at 8:46.